Most perennials come back every year. That part is true. What the tag at the garden center does not tell you is that most of them bloom for 3 weeks and spend the remaining 22 weeks just sitting there, looking ordinary, taking up space you could have used for something that actually performs. 3 weeks of color and then nothing. Sweetheart, that is not a garden. That is an expensive disappointment. What I am going to give you today are the 9 perennials that actually earn their space. Every one of them blooms for months, not weeks, and several are still going when the first frost arrives in October. And I am also going to give you the 5 you need to stop planting, because they are quietly stealing your summers and making your garden more work than it has to be. One of those 5 is one of the most beloved plants at every garden center in the country. It smells extraordinary. It photographs beautifully. And once it is in your ground, getting it back out is a project that will outlast your patience. Stay with me. Number 1 is catmint. I am starting here because I have grown it for nearly 20 years, and it has never failed me. Catmint blooms from late May all the way through October, and the secret to keeping that going the full season is one clean cut after the first big flush in June. Cut it back by 1/3, water it once, and within 2 weeks it comes back fuller than before and blooms again like it forgot it was already tired. My neighbor thought I'd planted a new variety. I had not. I had just learned the one thing the garden center forgets to mention. Number 2 is coneflower. But before you say you already have this one, make sure you're growing a reblooming variety. The old purple kind blooms for about 6 weeks and stops. The modern rebloomers, Cheyenne Spirit, Magnus, the newer hybrids, bloom from June through hard frost and gain color in late summer when everything around them slows down. Leave the seed heads when the petals drop. The goldfinches will work through them all winter. Number 3 is perennial salvia, garden salvia, the kind that comes back. Maynite and East Friesland bloom from late May through September. Never need staking, and the deer that visit my back beds have not touched them once in 11 years. Salvia does not shout. It just works, quietly, season after season, while showier plants around it are demanding attention they have not earned. Number 4 is black-eyed Susan, and this one earns its place by blooming from June all the way through the first hard frost without any deadheading at all. You plant it, step back, and it handles the rest entirely on its own. I learned this the hard way after spending 2 summers deadheading a bed that did not need it. I was making work for myself that had no effect on the color. If a plant does not need fussing, stop fussing with it. Number 5 is agastache, hummingbird mint. It blooms from late June through October, pulls in hummingbirds and bees like nothing else in my garden, and smells like licorice when you brush past it. It is drought tough once it roots in, thrives in the heat that makes other plants sulk, and reseeds gently each year without becoming a problem. I grew it on a neighbor's word alone. Within 1 summer, I had divided it into 3 beds. This is actually the thinking behind the lazy garden blueprint, because these plants each perform on their own. But when you layer them in the right combinations, they cover each other's bare spells, move color across the whole season, and take work off your plate. I built it as a 30-day setup system after watching good gardeners plant the right things in the wrong arrangement, and then fight their garden all summer. It is on screen if you want it. But 4 more of the best bloomers are still coming, and I have not gotten to the 5 you need to walk away from yet. Number 6 is coreopsis, tick seed, and it blooms from May through October in full sun with almost no water once established. Moonbeam is the variety I reach for most. Pale yellow, low mound in habit, never flops even after a hard rain. I have grown it in poor dry soil at the edge of my driveway for over a decade, and it has asked for almost nothing in return. Number 7 is hardy geranium, not the annual in pots, but the perennial ground cover kind, cranesbill. It blooms from May through October, fills in empty space as it spreads, and suppresses weeds underneath it as it goes. I wasted 3 summers pulling weeds from a shaded bed before someone told me about this plant. I have not pulled a weed from that bed in 6 years. Number 8 is gaura. Ask for it by that name at the nursery and someone will know what you mean. It blooms from late spring through hard frost with wispy white and pink flowers that move in the wind like something alive. It is nearly impossible to kill once it roots in, and it gets more beautiful in its 2nd and 3rd year than it was in the 1st. Leave it alone, and it rewards you for it. Number 9 is Rudbeckia fulgida, the smaller, tidier cousin of black-eyed Susan, and it does something the others do not. It seeds itself gently, spreads slowly to fill gaps, and never becomes invasive. Goldsturm is the variety every grandmother I know has grown for 40 years, and there is a reason it has never gone out of fashion. Plant it once and let it do the work for you. Now, the 5 you need to stop planting. Oriental poppy, gorgeous for 2 weeks in May, and then a gap the size of a bushel basket, brown collapsing foliage you cannot remove and cannot hide, and bare soil that invites every weed you fought all spring. The bloom is worth seeing in someone else's garden. It is not worth 5 months of managing the aftermath in yours. Lupine, the flower spikes are breathtaking, and I still understand why people fill their carts with them every spring. But in most gardens outside the Pacific Northwest, they bloom 3 weeks in early summer, struggle in the heat, flop sideways, and look terrible from July through frost. Garden centers won't always tell you this, but I will. Bearded iris, 1 week of extraordinary bloom and then 5 months of flat, floppy foliage and bare ground around the rhizomes that invites every fungal problem there is. I still love them in other people's gardens. I stopped asking them to earn a place in mine. Bleeding heart, stunning in spring and completely gone by July, leaving a gap so thorough you would think nothing had ever been planted there. Plan heavily around it, or it becomes a management problem all summer. And the one I promised you, lily of the valley, everyone loves it. The fragrance, the white bells, the shade tolerance, I loved it too, until it began to move. It spreads underground faster than you can follow, crowds out everything planted alongside it, and once it is fully established, getting it out is a multi-year effort. This is the kind of thing your grandmother knew and nobody teaches anymore. Grow it in a container if you love it. Do not put it in the ground unless you are prepared to give it everything. The 9 that bloom for months, and the 5 that look their best only on the label. Now you have both lists. That is half the work right there. Knowing the plants is one thing. Building the garden so they actually work together, so the layers fill in, the color carries from spring to frost, and you're not standing there every weekend patching what should not need patching. That is the conversation I put together in the Lazy Garden Blueprint. I built it because I kept watching good gardeners make the same setup mistakes I made in my first 10 years. It is a 30-day system built around the lazy layer method, combinations that come back, spread naturally, fill the empty spaces, and take work off your plate. It cost something because putting it together took real time. The link is on screen. If you want the garden without the fussing, that is where it is. Before you go, out of those 5 plants you should never grow, how many are in your beds right now? Drop it in the comments. Gardeners in different climates are reading those answers, and your honest experience helps someone else figure out what they're actually dealing with in a garden just like theirs. See you in the next one.